The sound you just heard is a warning of the escalating climate crisis in Hawaii, a place known for its beautiful beaches and considered a paradise by many. Tsunamis are coming, wildfire smoke clouds. The sky's bacteria surge in coastal waters after heavy rains, and urban waste flows directly into the ocean. Air, water, and land are all under growing pressure. This is no longer a distant warning. If no timely action is taken, this paradise could become the next pollution hotspot in the Pacific Ocean. Number 1. Toxic air emergency in Hawaii. Achotai. Number toxic cycle fox. Emergency in Hawaii. At first glance, Honolulu's air quality seems reassuring. The air quality index stays mostly in the good range, and fine particulate matter known as PM 2.5 typically remains below the safety threshold set by the World Health Organization. For many, that might sound like a reason to breathe easy. But in recent years, the beautiful picture of that paradise has taken a different turn. The most serious threat came in early 2024, when a major eruption at a volcano inside Hawaii Volcanoes National Park released large quantities of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. This volcanic gas, invisible to the eye but potent in its impact, can severely irritate the lungs, trigger asthma attacks, and worsen cardiovascular conditions. Vulnerable groups, including children, the elderly, and those with pre-existing respiratory or heart diseases, were placed at high risk during that period. Hospitals on the Big Island saw emergency visits for respiratory distress increase by nearly 30% within 2 weeks of the eruption. The danger isn't just from natural disasters. In the aftermath of the devastating Maui wildfires in August 2023, heavy smoke drifted across the islands, even reaching parts of Oahu. In a statewide health survey conducted 3 months later, nearly half, 46% of residents reported a decline in their overall well-being. Emergency rooms noted a spike in respiratory illnesses, while mental health clinics faced an influx of patients suffering from anxiety, trauma, and grief. Even with good daily air quality readings, short-term exposure to smoke ash or volcanic gas can have long-lasting consequences. The contrast is striking. One day of blue skies doesn't erase the effects of weeks or months of toxic air. What's more, climate change is making these extreme events more frequent and more intense. Longer dry seasons mean larger wildfires. Unpredictable volcanic activity releases dangerous gases with little warning. And though Honolulu may not face poor air every day, the city is no longer insulated from the threats that once seemed distant. This is not about fear. It's about awareness. Clear skies can be deceiving, and in Honolulu's case, the air we breathe today may be shaped by disasters hundreds of miles away. Number 2. Seawater contains fecal. The crystal-clear ocean in Honolulu was once the reason countless visitors longed to dive in and experience paradise firsthand. But today, that same inviting water has become one of the most closely watched sources of potential pollution outbreaks. After major rainfall, bacteria levels in ocean water can surge to dangerous highs. According to the latest national report by the Surfrider Foundation, 2 spots in Hawaii have become bacterial hotspots: Kahalu Beach on Oahu and Waikomo Stream at Koloa Landing in Kauai. Samples collected at these sites revealed high concentrations of Enterococcus, a type of fecal indicator bacteria that suggests possible contamination from sewage or animal waste. When we detect Enterococcus, it means there's likely fecal pollution in the water, said Hannah Lilly, Hawaii Regional Manager for the Surfrider Foundation. It's not something people can see, but it's absolutely something they can get sick from. Health officials emphasize that coastal water quality can shift rapidly, sometimes within just a few hours, and that clear water doesn't always mean safe water. That's why the Hawaii Department of Health encourages residents and visitors to sign up for water quality alerts and real-time beach advisories through its official website and social media platforms. To strengthen public awareness, the state is also collaborating with county officials to install permanent signs at popular beach parks. These signs will warn swimmers to avoid brown water, a visible signal that harmful runoff may be present. This is especially critical during Hawaii's rainy season, when stormwater can carry bacteria chemicals and other pollutants straight into the ocean. The stakes are high. Exposure to contaminated seawater can lead to skin infections, gastrointestinal illness, and more serious conditions in vulnerable groups like young children, pregnant women, and people with weakened immune systems. So the next time the skies open and the waves turn murky, and if the water is brown, stay out. What looks like a minor risk could carry real consequences, and in Hawaii, even paradise. Number 3. Tsunami warning siren. The sirens you heard at the beginning of this video were not part of a drill. They tore through the calm of Wednesday afternoon in Honolulu, not as a test, but as a real and urgent warning of something powerful approaching from across the Pacific. A tsunami alert had been issued. Evacuations were ordered in several coastal neighborhoods. Residents were told to move not later, but now. Within moments, emergency services were mobilized. The Coast Guard instructed all vessels to leave the harbors, immediately urging them to head out to deeper waters before the waves arrived. Flights in and out of Maui were canceled as a safety measure, grounding travel and amplifying the growing tension. Just after 8 o'clock in the evening, the first tsunami waves made contact with Hawaii. At Hanalei, tide gauges measured the swell at nearly 1 meter above normal sea level. On Oahu's north shore in Halewa, the waves climbed even higher, over 1.2 meters. Across the Pacific Basin, monitoring stations were flashing red. Hawaii was not alone in the path of the surge. Earlier that day, thousands of miles away, a massive earthquake registering magnitude 8.8 struck off the Kamchatka Peninsula in eastern Russia at 11:24 in the morning local time. That single seismic rupture sent a wall of energy coursing eastward, triggering tsunami warnings not only for Hawaii, but also for Japan and the western coastline of the United States. And in a strange quirk of geography and timekeeping, those waves reached Hawaii late Tuesday night, despite the quake occurring Wednesday morning, as they crossed the international date line, that invisible seam in the Pacific that divides one calendar day from the next. In Hilo, water levels surged to nearly 5 feet above normal. At Kahului on Maui, the ocean rose by 4 feet. While the islands were fortunate to avoid major damage, the message came through with stunning clarity. Nature had spoken not just through a tsunami, but through a pattern that is becoming dangerously familiar. Rising seas, intensifying disasters, and fragile coastlines eroding day by day. This was not just a freak event. It was part of a larger story, one shaped by a changing climate. The crisis is no longer on the horizon. It's at our doorstep. Even a place as iconic as Honolulu, a symbol of natural beauty and island serenity, now stands exposed. And unless bold, urgent action is taken, there may come a day when sirens aren't just a warning. Number 4. Climate change crisis. The gentle breezes and warm sunshine that define Hawaii's charm are no longer as predictable as they once were. Rising temperatures, prolonged dry seasons, and increasingly erratic downpours are now signs of a deeper transformation. One driven by climate change. One of the most visible and alarming effects is sea level rise. As global temperatures continue to climb, polar ice caps and glaciers melt at accelerating rates, pushing sea levels higher each year. In low-lying coastal areas of Hawaii, especially along the southern shores of Oahu, this has already led to noticeable beach erosion, saltwater intrusion, and flooding during high tides. In some neighborhoods like Waikik, and Iwa beach roads and seawalls are showing signs of stress, and local infrastructure is being pushed to its limits. But the crisis doesn't end at the shoreline. Beneath the waves, another threat is unfolding: ocean acidification. As more carbon dioxide builds up in the atmosphere, a significant portion is absorbed by the ocean. This changes the chemistry of seawater, lowering its pH and making it more acidic. While the process is invisible to the naked eye, the damage is all too real. Coral reefs. The beating heart of Hawaii's marine ecosystems are struggling to survive. Acidic waters weaken coral skeletons, disrupt reef growth, and threaten the thousands of marine species that depend on them. Even beyond the sea, climate change is amplifying natural disasters. Storms are stronger, droughts last longer, and rainfall, when it comes, often arrives in violent bursts that overwhelm drainage systems and damage crops. According to NOAA, Hawaii's average temperature has increased by nearly 2 degrees Fahrenheit over the past century, with more extreme weather events recorded in just the last 5 years than in any previous decade. In short, climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is here reshaping daily life ecosystems and the future of the islands. And while Hawaii may still be beautiful, the foundation beneath that beauty is shifting slowly, steadily, and in ways that demand urgent attention. Number 5. Impact on people. Once took pride in living close to nature, believing it offered protection and peace of mind. But today, that very environment is becoming a growing health hazard. As air and water quality decline, the well-being of entire communities is now at stake. The most affected are children, the elderly, and those with respiratory or heart conditions. Following the devastating Maui wildfires in 2023, hospitals saw a sudden spike in respiratory emergencies. On Oahu alone, pediatric admissions for asthma and bronchitis rose by nearly 30% in just 1 month. Meanwhile, the ocean, once a symbol of healing, has become a source of risk. After major rainstorms contaminated runoff flows into the sea, carrying bacteria and pollutants. At Queen's Medical Center, doctors reported a noticeable increase in skin infections, diarrhea, and ear-related illnesses during periods when beach water quality advisories were active. One recent report found that waterborne illness cases rose by close to 20% after prolonged rain events in 2024. Mental health is under siege as well. In areas hit hardest by natural disasters, such as Lahaina and low-lying coastal neighborhoods, rising cases of anxiety, stress, and trauma have been reported. Mental health centers are seeing a growing number of patients, particularly teenagers and individuals, displaced by fires or flooding. These psychological impacts, though less visible, can be just as debilitating as physical illness. While Hawaii's healthcare system is currently holding steady, the trend is clear. Environmental change is putting pressure on every layer of public health. Without stronger long-term planning, from emergency preparedness to community education, that pressure could soon overwhelm existing capacity. Protecting public health now means looking beyond hospital walls. It starts with clean air, safe water, and communities prepared to face a climate that is no longer predictable. Environmental issues are no longer separate from health, they are health issues. And in this new reality, survival depends not just on treatment, but on prevention, resilience, and timely action. Number 6. The ecosystem is changing. Hawaii's natural landscapes have long been hailed as some of the most unique and biodiverse on Earth, from lush rainforests and high-altitude wetlands to volcanic slopes and coral reefs teeming with life. Yet beneath this breathtaking beauty, the very ecosystems that define these islands are unraveling. Climate change is accelerating habitat loss across the state. As temperatures rise, rainfall patterns shift and sea levels continue to creep upward. Hawaii's native environments, already fragile due to their isolation, are reaching a breaking point. Wetlands are shrinking, and native forests are receding. And with them, the biodiversity that once flourished is rapidly fading. Many of Hawaii's endemic species evolved in narrow ecological niches and are deeply sensitive to environmental changes. A clear example is the Hawaiian honeycreeper, a brightly colored bird found nowhere else on the planet. These birds once thrived in the cool, mosquito-free highlands. But now, warming temperatures have allowed disease-carrying mosquitoes to move upslope, bringing avian malaria into once safe zones. As a result, honeycreeper populations are crashing. Some species have declined by over 70% in just the past decade. Native forests face a similar threat. Invasive species like strawberry guava and feral pigs are spreading faster due to warmer conditions and fragmented landscapes. These invaders outcompete native flora damage, understory vegetation, and alter soil composition, transforming entire ecosystems. With fewer native plants, birds and insects that depend on them also disappear, creating a ripple effect that weakens the entire web of life. Ocean ecosystems are under siege too. As carbon dioxide concentrations rise, the ocean absorbs more of it, leading to acidification. Coral reefs, which rely on calcium carbonate to build their skeletons, struggle to grow and recover from bleaching. This threatens not only the reefs themselves, but also the fish and marine life that depend on them. And by extension, the coastal communities that rely on reef ecosystems for food fishing and protection from storms. The University of Hawaii is actively monitoring these changes through long-term research programs, but the pace of disruption is fast outstripping the pace of recovery. Preserving Hawaii's ecosystems is no longer about maintaining beauty, it's about preventing collapse. What's at stake is not just the future of rare species, but the resilience of the islands themselves. Number 7. Why Honolulu? So why has a city as beautiful and sought after as Honolulu reached this breaking point? Once a symbol of harmony between people and nature, the city is now being pushed to its limits by rapid development and poorly managed urbanization. Over the past 2 decades, Honolulu's population has grown by more than 100,000 residents. Alongside millions of annual tourists, this has led to an explosion in waste generation water usage and energy consumption. Landfills like Waimanalo Gulch are nearing full capacity, and wastewater treatment plants frequently operate under pressure, especially during heavy rains and peak tourism seasons. The problem is even more severe along the coasts, where development has replaced wetlands, mangroves, and native habitats with high-rise buildings and resorts. With each storm-polluted runoff rushes through neighborhoods like Ala Moana Kaka'ako and Waikik, carrying oil plastic chemicals and trash directly into the ocean. One major issue often overlooked is Hawaii's aging cesspool system. "We have a very serious cesspool problem in Hawaii," said Hannah Lilly, Hawaii Regional Manager at the Surfrider Foundation. "We have 83,000 cesspools, and every day they discharge 52 million gallons of untreated wastewater into our coastal waters. This invisible flow is quietly damaging coral reefs, contaminating seafood sources, and endangering public health." Meanwhile, uncontrolled urban sprawl is fragmenting natural ecosystems. Native wildlife is losing its habitat, and once thriving native forests are being pushed aside, replaced by concrete asphalt and monoculture landscaping. On top of that, much of Honolulu's infrastructure built decades ago is aging and under-resourced. Drainage systems are overwhelmed during storms, while energy demand from new buildings contributes to urban heat islands and increases carbon emissions. The challenge isn't growth itself, it's growth without vision. Without thoughtful, sustainable planning that centers environmental limits, Honolulu risks becoming a cautionary tale, a paradise consumed by its own momentum. development must no longer be measured by how fast we build, but by whether what we build can coexist with the land, the sea, and the life that calls this island home. Number 8. Efforts to restore Hawaii. As Hawaii's natural environment faces growing threats, efforts from state agencies, local communities, and non-profit organizations are emerging as a vital force to preserve what remains. These are not just statistics or policy plans. They are real, tangible actions unfolding across labs, classrooms, beaches, and forests. The state government has stepped up air and water quality monitoring through a network of sensors and real-time data reporting. These updates are made publicly available, allowing residents to stay informed and make safer decisions for their health. Alerts about contaminated seawater, poor air quality, or mosquito-borne disease risk are now regularly shared on the Department of Health's website and social media. On the ground, non-profit groups like the Surfrider Foundation, Malama Mauna Lua, and Kupu are leading grassroots action, organizing coastal cleanups, replanting mangroves, and hosting environmental education programs in schools. These initiatives go beyond cleanup. They foster a deeper connection to the land and inspire a sense of responsibility for its protection. A major focus of conservation work is the protection of native species from extinction. Programs to breed and reintroduce endangered birds like the Alala Hawaiian crow and the Nene Hawaiian goose have shown promising results in rebuilding populations and preserving Hawaii's unique biodiversity. For coral reefs, one of the island's most treasured and vulnerable ecosystems, Hawaii has designated multiple marine protected areas to limit fishing, reduce pollution, and encourage reef recovery. Scientists are also identifying and cultivating heat-resilient coral species that can better withstand rising ocean temperatures, offering a lifeline for these fragile habitats. Perhaps most crucially, local communities are at the heart of these efforts. Residents, cultural practitioners, and conservationists are working together to revive traditional land and water management systems such as fish pond restoration and sustainable farming. These methods not only promote ecological health, but also preserve ancestral knowledge and community resilience. Every small act, checking air quality data, picking up trash, or helping save a native bird, is a building block in Hawaii's mission to restore its environmental balance. And at the core of it all is the spirit of love for the land, a force more powerful than any storm or fire threatening these islands. Number 9. Notable may become a red alert. Hawaii's environmental situation is not in a state of emergency, but it's approaching a critical line. Air pollution, coastal water quality, and ecosystem stability remain at levels that require attention, not alarm. However, when early warnings go unheeded, they often become the quiet prelude to crisis. Air quality readings across the islands often fall within acceptable ranges. But this sense of safety is fragile. Wildfire smoke, volcanic emissions, and heat-induced dust can cause sharp declines in air quality within hours, especially harmful to children, seniors, and people with respiratory or heart conditions. Coastal waters may appear crystal clear, but appearances can be misleading. Following heavy rainfall, stormwater carries bacteria waste and chemical runoff directly into the ocean. Beaches once seen as safe quickly turn into risk zones for illness and infection. The problem is often invisible to the eye and becomes noticeable only when public health is already affected. Natural ecosystems are experiencing mounting stress. Native species are losing habitat. Coral reefs, essential to marine biodiversity, and local fisheries continue to deteriorate due to rising sea temperatures and ocean acidification. These changes unfold gradually, making them easy to overlook until the damage becomes widespread and permanent. The real danger lies not in what has already happened, but in how easily it is dismissed. A sewage system nearing its limit wetlands converted for development, or another prolonged drought. Any of these could spark a chain reaction affecting the island's health economy and environment. This moment calls for forward-thinking action. Hawaii still has the ability to strengthen infrastructure, expand environmental protections, and engage communities in long-term solutions. But time is not on our side. The longer these issues are treated as tolerable, the more rapidly they shift into territory we can no longer manage. This is not an invitation to panic. It is a demand for focus and urgency. Every choice made now in planning policy and personal behavior will help decide whether Hawaii remains a model of resilience or becomes a warning of what happens when we wait too long to act. Hawaii, long seen as a paradise, now stands at a fragile crossroads. From polluted waters and warming seas to disappearing species and rising development, the threats are no longer distant. The recent tsunami warning was more than a siren. It was a wake-up call. However, hope remains. Conservation efforts, local action, and cultural resilience are still holding the line. But time is running short. Protecting Hawaii means more than saving its beauty. It's about preserving a way of life. If this story moved, you don't forget to like and subscribe to the NVL Travel Documentary, where the world's hidden stories come to life.